The bodies of 8-year-old Stevie Brown, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers were found in a drainage ditch in Robin Hood Hills, West Memphis, Arkansas. Their bicycles were discovered nearby in the water. The 3 boys had been restrained, with their hands and feet tied. All 3 died by drowning. One of the victims showed signs of severe injury. The scene was disturbing, confusing, and eerily silent. But within days, the investigation would stop searching for just a killer. It would begin looking for something much larger, an alleged ritual. Police quickly focused their investigation on 3 local teenagers: Damian Eccles, 18, Jason Baldwin, 16, and Jesse Miskelly, Jr., 17. Eccles stood out in the community for wearing black, listening to heavy metal, and openly talking about the occult. In a small town already sensitive to the cultural climate of the time, that was enough to turn suspicion into a narrative. Prosecutors argued that the crime had been a ritual sacrifice and even brought an occult expert to testify in court. He suggested that certain aspects of the crime, such as the number of victims and the mutilation of one of them, could be consistent with satanic rituals, even though no symbols, markings, or ritual objects were ever found at the crime scene. The main piece of evidence presented was Jesse Miskelly's confession, obtained after hours of police interrogation. The problem was that the statement contained numerous factual errors, incorrect timelines, inaccurate descriptions of the crime scene, and details that did not match the physical evidence. Even so, the confession became the central pillar of the prosecution's case. Other elements were presented as supporting evidence. Some fibers found at the scene were considered consistent with clothing associated with Damian Eccles and Jason Baldwin. Investigators also mentioned a blanket from one of the suspects' homes whose fibers could be similar to those discovered in the area. Circumstantial testimony also surfaced. One report claimed that 3 men covered in mud and blood were seen entering a nearby Bojangles restaurant and using the women's restroom to clean themselves. Another witness suggested that Eccles had behaved strangely after the murders. Despite this, no evidence directly connected the 3 teenagers to the crime scene in a definitive way. Years later, modern DNA testing found no genetic material from the accused at the scene. However, a hair recovered from one of the shoelaces was found to be consistent with Terry Hobbs, the stepfather of one of the victims, although this never resulted in a formal accusation. In 1994, the verdicts were delivered. Damian Eccles was sentenced to death. Jason Baldwin received life in prison. Jesse Miskelly was sentenced to life imprisonment plus 40 years. The case would quickly become one of the most controversial examples of the American justice system, often associated with the phenomenon known as the Satanic Panic, when widespread fear of satanic cults influenced investigations and trials. 17 years later, in 2011, the 3 men walked out of prison after accepting a legal agreement known as an Alford plea, a deal that allows a defendant to maintain their innocence while formally pleading guilty. They left as free men, but the case itself remains without a definitive answer.